Welcome back to another Jazz basketball breakdown. What a game tonight. What a fourth quarter tonight is what I should say.
What a comeback.
Yeah, no kidding. We looked awful through three quarters tonight.
Had some runs here and there. Man, that second quarter was rough.
Yes.
We got absolutely dominated. Came back from 19 down overall in the second. But kind of end of the third, you could feel a little bit of a shift. I believe I said, it feels like we're starting to win the physicality battle.
Yes. Yeah, and honestly, even he had a huge fourth quarter, but even kind of a little bit of a stretch closing the third quarter. Keyonte George really gave us a nice scoring punch.
Looked like he just kind of hits that mode like he does that he shouldn't do. You shouldn't do this, young man.
He has no fear.
That's not normal.
No, and talking about him and his kind of no fear. That fourth quarter, there was just big bucket after big bucket. That plays he was making and the timing of when he makes those plays. He was playing defense on Lillard.
A couple of times on Antetokounmpo where he stayed in there and was physical, got the foul called on him, but he didn't play the Olay defense.
Did his role, right? As a guard, if you just switch on to Giannis, all you're asking is for them to stay in front of him.
Yep, stay in front of him. He's gonna, there's possibly gonna be a screen coming, or he's gonna just overpower you. Stay in front of him, fight. You're probably gonna get a foul called. Don't give him an easy and one. Don't give him a dunk.
Yeah, exactly. And man, what a fun game to watch. This is one of those games where it's like, man, if we start making some trades and stuff, Keyonte could really be that 6-man player off the bench that we can rely on to come in and give us some scoring punch and stuff like that. So what a fun game tonight.
And I got to say that somebody who may not have had the biggest stats but made an impact on the game, Walker Kessler. We saw him come in and in the open court transition just flying past Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
We saw one where he reached out and grabbed him by the hips and just tried to pull him back because he was flying up the court and he couldn't keep up with him. The off-ball movement, getting to the dunker spot, affecting shots. He looked nice. He looked very agile and mobile.
Yeah, this was one of those games where this is the dude from last year, right? That everyone was so hyped about, and really gave us those minutes tonight. So that was really fun to watch tonight.
Yeah, missed that, and it was good to see that it was, against Portis with his old kind of Team USA teammate there.
Yep, exactly.
Who knows if there's some stuff there or not? I don't know. Kind of have my theories, but
yeah.
Portis came out and had quite a big game, especially first half. Kind of slowed down. We finally kind of got some hand in his face second half, but he was definitely part of that big push for them in the first half. But yeah, good to see Kessler come and close out the game. It kind of looked like we had a makeshift sort of second unit, sort of first team, end of the third quarter, start of the first quarter unit that just started clicking, and they played all the way through, all the way to the end. Dunn didn't come back in. Sexton didn't come back in. Collins
didn't come back in. Fontecchio didn't come back in.
Right. And we just flew with it to the end and ended up, what was the fourth quarter?
40-13 is what I
13.
believe. We ended on a 38-9 run.
Wow. And that shouldn't happen with two basically Hall of Famers in waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have Middleton or Brook Lopez, right?
Right, of course.
That's one of those. But you've got two Hall of Famers, and you're scoring 13 points in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah. The camera is slowly falling. Let me fix this for y'all. Yes, it was slowly. At a little bit. You guys get a little bit of why we're fixing it normally. Yeah, I could see it slowly it's like this thing's gonna just fall, but no, what's so funny about you mentioned Lillard and Giannis, it should not happen with them only scoring 13 points. Keyonte George guarding Damian Lillard, who did a very good job, like we mentioned. Kelly Olynyk,
yeah,
coming from two people who consistently talk crap on Kelly Olynyk's defense, right? Rightfully so. Holy crap, Kelly Olynyk put together a defensive game against Giannis. Consistently, was stepping right as Giannis wanted to kind of take that blow, but not give him the spin. there were so many good moments by freaking Kelly Olynyk this game defensively in the fourth quarter that it was just like, who are you, and why is it that we're winning this game by having Kelly Olynyk shut down Giannis?
So if somebody would have come to you with a game plan of having Olynyk guarding Giannis down the stretch of the fourth quarter, what would be the words
destroyed?
you would use for that person?
Like, oh my gosh. Have you ever watched basketball or anything?
Yeah, that's a puzzler right there.
They even when the matchup first happened of Olynyk, we kind of, me, you, and my dad kind of looked at each other like, oh, this is
not good
trouble.
Not good. Yep. And in a weird move, Milwaukee really didn't go after the Jordan Clarkson defensive
at all
spot. Yeah, they figured we're going to go to our strengths, which kudos to them, but they didn't try to hunt the matchup either, which was odd. What else? Markkanen basically went to a spot up roll down the stretch and hit his jumpers, efficiently, like he does. Man,
something that helped us too with our size was Markkanen being able to play the 3, being able to bring another big, at the 4 where Olynyk can stretch out. That was really nice to see this game. Finally putting Markkanen back at the 3. I feel like we didn't attack certain matchups as much, but I mean, you have a 40-13 fourth quarter. You can't really argue about how it happened.
We were rolling like crazy.
Ball was moving really nice.
That's true. And so, we've talked about Clarkson. We as a team are most effective, and you brought this up at the end, when Clarkson doesn't have a ton of shots, but plays a little bit more of a playmaking role.
Yeah.
The distribution in the fourth quarter between Clarkson and Olynyk was very nice. And then the times that Keyonte had the ball with space, where his space wasn't closed down by other teammates to do that quite a bit, he was able to create. You saw one where he crossed Dame Lillard over as he was going into a screen and went in there, dropped it off to Kessler, which looked like he was fouled on that dunk attempt. So it was all flying, and it allowed us. They had to try and match Crowder up on Markkanen because he was playing at the 3, like you said.
Yep.
And we haven't gone to that big lineup very much down the stretch.
Yeah, and like you said with Clarkson, there really wasn't a whole lot in the fourth quarter that, I'm one of the biggest ones to sit and complain about Clarkson during the games. And my dad has become the super Clarkson hater during the game, which is so funny because he was all about it and didn't say a word right about Clarkson in the fourth quarter because it wasn't, for the most part, it wasn't pound his dribble, throw up some bad shot, and it was a lot of within the offense, movement, the ball's not sticking, and played a much more of a flow where everyone else on the team is involved.
Had a net positive with the way that they weren't attacking him on the defensive side. I thought Sexton really got the ball stuck in his hands this game. And even though his shooting numbers looked decent, he did have a lot of turnovers, but just missing wide open reads. And once again, a little bit impatient.
Simple reads that he's missing. And this was, and it's kind of been slowly happening more and more the past, 5-6 games. Sexton feels almost like he's reverting back to the kind of pound dribble, not shoot the best shots and stuff like that, not necessarily looking to create for other players, which is fine in a 6-man role. It's not fine with the role that he's playing.
Understand your matchups too. I mean, how many times against Brooklyn did he try and go at Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges?
How many times tonight did he try to go against Giannis?
Going against Giannis, taking him at the rim. He did have the one part where he kind of went across him and he fell down when there was that altercation. But for the most part, that's really not a matchup to hunt. The other time he did a step back 3 that Giannis contests easily because he's so long. He made that one, which was a super tough shot. But when you go on the averages, that's not a good decision.
And that's
most of the time you're going to miss that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we're running that play to get the switch for Markkanen. Damian Lillard switching on to Lauri Markkanen is a freaking win. Beasley switching on to Markkanen is a freaking win every time. And Sexton just refused to pass it. So
I don't care if there's a double coming right after that. We accept those terms.
100%. And Marklin will make the right decision at that point most of the time. That right there, that is why he didn't touch the court on the fourth quarter, and he shouldn't have. He played a bad game tonight.
That's the correct move by Hardy, right? I mean,
yeah, great adjustment.
You can't ever question his heart, his effort, his want to. Just some of the decision making sometimes gets sacrificed in some of those moments of urgency and aggressiveness. And so tonight was the correct move by Hardy. Don't bring it back in the fourth. Like that adjustment, and it showed. In Milwaukee folded and waved the white flag, and Antetokounmpo walked up the tunnel before the game was over.
Yep. Nice old LeBron James move.
Only LeBron James.
But something that did go right in the first three quarters, was I felt Chris Dunn defensively against Damian Lillard. Him and Kessler combined really took Lillard out of his game. Lillard wasn't having a good game at all. This game, Bobby Portis dominating Markkanen in the first half is what got them involved, and that's for your kind of where Markkanen needs to be a lot better. Is Markkanen can never get his ass kicked by Bobby Portis physically posting him up, putting shots up over him, bodying him into the lane. It was a really bad first half for Markkanen defensively, but Chris Dunn really hedging and bothering Lillard. And then on the screens, Walker Kessler, man, did his homework on when Lillard likes to pull up and when he likes to attack, because there was so many times where Kessler kind of early jumps and early times it to where Lillard's just kind of like, he has one where Kessler early jumps, so he kind of like pulls back and tries to shoot a floater, and Dunn's already recovered at that point, and he shoots it over the backboard.
Throws it over the backboard, yeah.
Another one where Kessler just flat out blocked because he early jumps. He jumps before Lillard had even started going up, and later on Lillard finally gets it, but he has to dunk it in kind of aggressively and ends up kind of hurting himself a little bit because of how he had to attack it.
And it wasn't a crank it back dunk. It was a hurry and slip it over in the tiniest window you have, because he knows if he lays it up, he gets it. Another time where Lillard then fakes the early move, and Kessler doesn't bite, and he tries to go later and swats it. So he was in his head early. And that's kind of the difference of taking somebody out of their rhythm early versus kind of Tyrese Maxey, where we gave him the two open looks early in the game and get his timing. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if you have a hand in his face, you're dead.
Yep. And that was the thing, right? Fourth quarter, when they couldn't get anything going, Damian Lillard, you could tell, just had no confidence in the fourth because of the way the game had been going. That 90% of that is because I think all of his minutes were paired up against Kessler or Chris Dunn, and then a lot of them Kessler and Dunn up until the fourth. And so you got to give credit to Chris Dunn and Walker Kessler for really, really dominating on the defensive side. Damian Lillard
affecting a superstar.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's kind of how you have to do it. And sometimes superstars will still make shots even though you make it difficult. The point is, do you make it extra hard for them? So that was well played. I thought that Kessler's activity and movement for the most part was good. Man. Antetokounmpo kind of took him to task on the one, which is a superstar manly move. Kessler was funny after the game. I tried to cut him off, but what did he say?
Just spun off me, and that didn't work.
I love that. And that's, you got to tip your cap to a Hall of Famer. That's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
But the overall movement and effort there was good for some young players. So we've got an interesting week coming up.
Yes.
The 8th is Thursday.
Trade deadline is Thursday. And man, some trade talks and rumors have popped up this weekend.
There's a lot of talk.
So the big one is that it's come out that DeJounte Murray, everyone knows Hawks are looking to move DeJounte Murray, that two teams have given a legit offer for DeJounte Murray to the point where Atlanta has actually sees it as a serious offer. There may have been other offers, but not one that they see as a serious offer. The Lakers and the Jazz. And the Lakers have offered D'Angelo Russell,
the rookie Jalen Hood-Schifino, their 29 pick and a pick swap.
Yeah. And so And you were saying that they want nothing to do with D'Angelo Russell, which I agree. D'Angelo Russell and Trae Young is a horrible freaking matchup together. Holy crap, that's bad.
The Atlanta Housewives is what that team would be called.
Yeah, and so, but it hasn't come out of what the Jazz have offered, and I'd be curious. I would be shocked if it wasn't either Sexton or Clarkson as well as Olynyk. And maybe some other players, obviously, to make the money work and stuff. But
we know that obviously their coach, Quinn Snyder, coached here, loved Clarkson. They know that they need a piece that can score. DeJounte Murray was supposed to be a scorer plus a defensive specialist, and that really hasn't worked out there. But nothing really seems to work next to Trae Young in that place. I mean, I would appreciate Atlanta, like I said to you, to keep just cultivating players for us to take from them.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they can be our pipeline.
Because, man, a guard lineup of Chris Dunn and DeJounte Murray, that would be fun. DeJounte Murray hasn't been as defensive-minded since going to Atlanta than we're used to, but this dude is a defensive stud. Playing next to players that there's a lot of stuff that's come out. No one in Atlanta's happy, and DeJounte Murray's pissed and stuff like that. And so you can't really take into effect his gameplay right now. It's kind of similar to what we were talking about John Collins last year.
You know who's worked with DeJounte Murray in the past and would know a lot about him and what his real core skills are?
There could be someone on our coaching staff. Maybe our head coach, Will Hardy, might have an understanding of who DeJounte Murray is.
Have some time working with him personally in the past. Yeah.
So if we're going after that, if we're targeting him, that makes me believe, because there's no way Danny Ainge and Zanuck aren't going to go to Will Hardy and have that discussion before that offer.
For sure.
And so if we put in a serious offer for him, that means Will Hardy's comfortable with bringing him in. And go ahead.
Sorry, middle cough here. It not only is it does he fit with Chris Dunn eventually when Keyonte George takes over the starting role, and so if we believe that he is our primary ball handler, high level player, we've talked about this in shows past where Sexton and Keyonte George are not a fit playoff-wise long-term. As highly as we think of both of them together, right? They do great things. That's not saying they're bad players. DeJounte Murray, next to Keyonte George, however, is a 1-2 that fits on paper.
Yeah.
Never know if it'll work for sure. On paper, regular season, playoffs, if we can get them up to their high potential.
Yep,
correct?
100%.
There's a chance it doesn't work, but every trade has that possibility that doesn't work. But on paper, that is a playoff level here in a couple years, 1 and 2. We have a couple other pretty good players.
And man, would DeJounte be a great freaking primary ball handler next to Lauri Markkanen. DeJounte Murray's ability to create the stuff for other players on the team as well, I think would just open stuff up even more for Lauri Markkanen, get another legit star-level player next to Lauri Markkanen, because DeJounte is a star-level player. He was a star in San Antonio and has been kind of clouded with Trae Young and the Atlanta fiasco. But, man, I think Markkanen and DeJounte would be a seamless fit as your 1-2 star on a team. Oh, I think that would be so freaking fun to have them. And your consolation prize of not getting guarded by Chris Dunn is DeJounte Murray.
Absolutely. Another high-level defensive player. If we can get him back to what his core skills are, we feel, right? That's kind of part of the challenge of making those assessments and putting your money where your scouting assessment is. That's part of it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I would fully support the DeJounte Murray move, hoping that it works, even if we would have to trade away some players that have really contributed and we really liked. And that would be a situation where we would be a buyer, right? Which is kind of, a lot of people don't really believe the Jazz are in that situation. Some do. But then I also think we maybe have another move or two where we would be a seller.
Yeah, no, I agree. If Clarkson's not involved in that trade, and it is Sexton, I believe you would still see a Clarkson trade pretty quickly after that to either New York or something like that. It's I would be shocked with all the talk that you hear and stuff right now with him and involved trade talks and the way his contract is set up and stuff like that. I'd be really surprised if we held on to him. Just because timeline wise and everything, it would surprise me. But players that you could see getting in that trade, I could see them because they need a defender. They need some better defenders. I could see Fontecchio or Baji being a part of that trade. I personally think Baji could be a guy that they feel like they would want in that trade, and have Clarkson be a six-man scoring punch, or Sexton being a six-man scoring punch, and starting Baji at the two next to Trae Young, where Trae Young is so very heavily ball heavy, and Baji's not going to be someone who's going to take that away from him and cause problems in a locker room if that is happening.
He would fit there great. There's no question.
I'd hate to see it because I still believe in his development and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it at all.
Quinn Snyder, I always have questions on, will he play a young player like that? I don't know. We have Quinn Snyder questions from the past, but
yes.
Me personally, if I was the coach and knowing Ochai Agbaji, how he shoots and plays when he gets consistent minutes and a consistent role, I would be all over that salary, man. I would pull him in a second.
100%.
So, there are a couple other moves that would be interesting to see and would make sense. We've talked about Olynyk, even though he has a great game tonight. It makes sense to start to try to clear a path for Taylor Hendricks to start getting playing time.
Perfect time to trade him.
Call it the draft stock is high.
Trade's going to happen tomorrow for DeJounte Murray because of this.
This game tonight. All of a sudden, Monday morning trades.
Sexton's game is going to cost us a freaking another first.
No kidding. So it'll be interesting to see. It's kind of always fun to be the fans playing. Guessing the basically the Monday morning quarterback roll by the water cooler type of stuff at work, and that's what we do when we enjoy. So, man, it'll be an interesting couple of days, and every time I get a text from this guy, I'm like, is it? What's going on? And I know that you're checking all the sites.
I am like nonstop, like every 5 minutes at work, like Bleacher Report, news, Utah Jazz news. I have like a consistent. I just type U in my URL at work on my computer, and it just pops up Utah Jazz news.
I swear, if you text me about some stupid crap that doesn't have to do with trades, I'm going to freak out.
Tell you about trades not with the Jazz.
Yeah. Guess what happened at work? I don't care.
But so this is going to be a super exciting week. We may have to wait literally till the last second on Thursday to see any of this happen. I think it'll happen before the last second, kind of like last year a little bit, because with Mike Conley and some of the other trades, because with what you said, I think there's going to be, if we get DeJounte, I think one or two more trades happen after it. And so because of that, I think you see if we get DeJounte, I see it happening quicker, maybe like legit tomorrow or Tuesday. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get some big trade like that and literally the last second on Thursday, and we freaking trade him nothing.
Yeah, anything under the sun, man. We obviously have a history of doing transactions with Atlanta recently with their new general manager group that came in.
Yep.
At that point, right? Obviously have a pipeline of communication and with Quinn Snyder, who we parted with on amicable terms. So
and the trade has not been a bad trade for them, getting John Collins off their team to clear some of the other players that they wanted in those positions and getting his contract off. So there's no Cleveland Cavaliers, Timberwolves, possibly bad taste in your mouth of losing a trade recently with the Jazz, even though we feel like we won that trade. The Cavs probably also feel like it was the Hawks also feel like it was a very good trade for them.
You notice what's been happening with the Cavs, by the way, when they've gone to one guard out, one playing, they start winning a whole bunch of games.
Yeah. It's almost like those two don't fit well together.
I'll be darned. Who could have seen that coming?
But
it'll be back to better for him when Mitchell leaves here shortly.
Yeah, no kidding. But like you said, I'm checking my phone nonstop. This is a super exciting time for teams like the Jazz because you never know what's going to happen.
This could be one of the moves that changes the trajectory. Speeds it up. Maybe take another little half step forward. We've got the piece of the young rookies or second-year players that are growing right before our eyes. And then you have the piece of, do we grab another veteran player that kind of clicks it forward, another little half step?
Yep.
It's interesting times. It's fun.
Who has the timeline to fit this team?
Yeah. And a decent team-controlled contract over the next few years. There's some parts of it that are really good.
Yeah.
There are other players that would be nice to get to, but this one kind of seems like the best contract, player, everything.
Especially with players who are available and not going to cost an arm and a leg to make the trade happen.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about an extension really for a couple of years and get them in here. And we believe that we have a coaching staff that finds ways to get players in there and involved in ways that the team's bought in.
That's the thing. The players, our locker room is a great locker room. DeJounte Murray, it's come out and some stuff that got leaked and stuff. The locker room and the players and stuff, a lot of them aren't happy in Atlanta. That doesn't. Utah has a culture right now over the past few years that's been growing and continued to get better, where we have a very good culture, and it's known that we have a very good locker room culture. And so you do bring a guy in like DeJounte Murray, it's because the people who are making that deal and people who have dealt with him in the past understand that the stuff that's happening in Atlanta is not necessarily him bringing a bad culture, but other players. And so,
yeah, and I'm sure that he's been on the phone with the previous teammate John Collins talking about how it is and what it's like, and him selling him back and forth. And these are kind of the behind the scenes things that go on, kind of like how Pascal Siakam and Halliburton were friends. And I'm, you know that there's conversation there. Organizations can't make those contacts and talks, but players that are friends, they can talk. Players that have discussed in the past, that's something that happens. So for sure, that's been going on. Will be interesting to see if the front offices can make it work. We've got a whole lot of assets sitting in the old closet there that we could use. It's Ainge is quite stingy on those sometimes, but come on, man, let's go.
100%. So we'll see what happens this week. Got another game, I think Tuesday then Thursday, right? And so exciting week, super exciting game. Can't believe we ended up winning this game and sweeping the Bucks.
That's true.
Off a huge game from our entire team who played in the fourth quarter, but really good explosion from Keyonte. So fun freaking game, dude.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys Tuesday. Thanks, guys.